Hello everyone and welcome back to the Brightworks and another match of Beyond All Reason. Today, spawning on the western side of Bismuth Valley, representing the red team. Already off to a great start, aren't we? As an Armada commander, it's going to be 1,000 ticks. Boy, it's been a while since I recorded. Took a little bit of a break for Christmas there, so getting back on the grind here, getting back on the horse. I'm excited to be back. I sure hope you are as well. Spawning on the eastern side and representing the blue team also as an Armada commander, it's going to be Reetsweet. Reetsweet, a well-known name to the channel at this point, going to be going into the regular triple metal extractor start into some wind turbines here. On Bismuth Valley, I would say wind is probably well worth investing in. An average wind speed of 11.2. That's definitely high enough that it warrants going into wind over solar panels. And, you know, you're never going to hear a complaint from me if somebody going into wind turbines over solar panels. What's to say? It's been a while since I've actually been able to watch a game of Beyond All Reason, just start to finish, enjoy one, so I'm excited to be here. Really does feel like a privilege to be back here in the hot seat, showing you guys the very best that I can find. This is it's kind of a mixed bag of a match here. We do have some people all the way ranging from 1 true skill all the way up to 30 here on both teams. So we have, 27 for 1,000 ticks, and then all the way down to 3 true skill here for Canadian team carry on the bottom. They have to lift everybody up. It's Barometer 1 and ID Neon, both of which going to be showing us what they've got here. Barometer right in the middle of the map, definitely the hot seat. Gonna be showing us the very best that they can bring to the table here, so I'm excited to see it. Always love true skill players jumping into these lobbies and lower skill players jumping into these lobbies and showing us what they've got. True skill not always indicative of a player's real skill value either, so maybe we'll be surprised. Either way, we do have some aggression heading across the map here now. A couple of ticks have been pumped out and queued around. A bit of an interesting queue right there. Ticks sent forward and then backwards. Are they on a repeat command? I'm a little confused what we're doing with those ticks right there. Either way, we do have some other ticks, maybe, you know, a little bit more of a plan. Oh, no, I guess not. Reetsweet also just parking some ticks over on the other side of the map. You can always use these a little bit later on after the enemy is pushed forward, and if you catch them with a little bit of a greedy expand like we do see Barometer doing here, where the commander has moved forward, this is necessary, right? This is actually the right move to do as a vehicles player, but this is the trade-off that you go for, is that you're very vulnerable to early game harassment because your commander has to move forward to claim metal extractors, but it means that it can't defend all of the metal extractors that you've got. This is very expensive for Barometer to deal with right now. LLT is up in the main base at the very least, so that'll help with the base defense, but these metal extractors should all be forfeit now as Reetsweet has gotten into the back line and is going to blast these apart lickety-split. There we go. Nice micro on those ticks, by the way. Moved them out of the way so that they wouldn't be, wouldn't actually go down to the metal extractor dying right there. Very nicely done. And there goes all three metal extractors. There we are. Go down here for the round player, Barometer. Look at Reetsweet harassing down the lowest true skill player on the red team. Shaking my head. Now, in some respects, it's the right move strategically, right? You have to poke where the enemy's weakest link is to try and open up an advantage for yourself. Even if that feels a bit cruel to say, it is not the wrong idea, per se. I think the right idea for the red team would be to reinforce that player a little bit extra, give them a little bit more attention, spare some extra units, and make them hold a very narrow lane so they don't have to do all too much. And I think that's probably how you counteract the fact that you know that your one of your potentially weakest players is playing on the front line. Bunch of ticks looking for an opening over here. Pawns will catch them, though. Looks like, there is an LLT over here, so that'll be nice for shutting some of those down as well. Looks like 1 tick will make it into the back line. 1 tick is all it takes, blasting those metal extractors away. Not going to happen, though. That tick does go down here. Oh, there's another one in the back line, though, blasting some more metal extractors. So annoying to clean all this up. This is very, very annoying for everybody to deal with. Silly Willy needs to get a march and a move on. We do, so we have Legion enabled. I didn't even notice. We do have Legion turned on so that we're going to have some of those funky units. Very cool. I've been playing a whole lot of Legion myself, and I've been really enjoying them. Sorry, I'm shaking the camera around with excitement here. Tobo Toby, or Tobat Toby? I'm going to go with Tobo Toby, because that sounds pretty good. Tobo Toby, if you're out there watching this, feel free to leave a comment down below how badly I've butchered your name. It's a fun one, though, and I really enjoy it. Toby, either way, going to be going for some LOTs over here, contesting the metal extractors, and this is definitely the right move. You only need to hold this metal extractor point. There's not really any point of holding where Shizo is at, because there's no metal over here, so you really just need the metal extractor on this point right here. Now, there's a lot of 2.8s on this map that are definitely well worth claiming, so I'd love to see some commanders moving forward. Yeah, you can see ID Neon, a little bit unfamiliar with what they should be going for here. Definitely need to see a bit more of an aggressive expansion right here. There's tons of metal being wasted because, yeah, that player has not gone forward with their commander and captured all of that. So one of the things that we see new players do a whole lot is fail to aggress. So oftentimes they'll turtle up in their main base, or maybe pick a point on the map to turtle up on. And that can work a lot against the AI, but it doesn't work at all against human opponents, because they'll just go around you. They'll just ignore your static defense and essentially negate the entire purpose of it. After all, it's way easier to ignore static defense than it is to break it. There we go. Finally sending some D-guns out. 1000 ticks will survive this encounter with incisors. I was a little worried for a second there. The commander was getting pretty low. It still is. Still being blasted apart by some Hades as well as some rovers over here. I don't think they're going to do the trick, but it was an excellent effort, bringing that commander down to 25% HP. Obviously, you can't see the commander's health points when you're actually fighting against it, so probably unsure of exactly how much damage they really were able to do on the line right there, but it was certainly a good amount. It was an excellent try. Happy to see it regardless. So what do you do when you're in this situation where you have a newer player? Well, one thing you can do is always offer to, you know, suggest what they should be interested in doing, right? Just let them know, hey, you might benefit greatly from moving your commander forward and capturing a whole bunch of metal extractors. We are sending a constructor forward here from ID Neon, so that's quite nice. Sending the constructor forward and capturing all these is also a viable strategy. It's going to be a little bit slower than sending the commander forward, but it does mean that your commander can stay back as a source of build power back here, as well as maybe catching any runaway tanks or anything like that that would be just a little bit too difficult for, say, grunts or maybe even tanks of your own to catch. Just those sturdier units. Janus is firing into the crowd here. Not going to be able to get all too much effect. Didn't manage to actually kill anything. They scuffed everything up really badly, but didn't actually manage to do all too much damage. Well, they did a lot of damage, but they didn't manage to kill anything. And that last HP is the only one that matters here. So I think the blue player on the southern side is going to be more than happy to stay in the fight here. Now, obviously, Toby here doesn't have perfect vision like we do, but we can see that this is a tremendous opportunity path we've got right here to send a couple of units through in this direction and directly into the red player's base. The maroon player completely vulnerable to run by right now. If we had 4 or 5 pawns that we just grouped together and sent on a little rendezvous mission on the back line of the red team, they certainly would be able to do a tremendous amount of damage. We have tons of Januses out on the line now, 3 of them accompanied by a medium tank, and there's more rolling on out as well here. It's a dangerous composition to go into as a bots player. Vehicles should be A-okay, though. You can also spam ticks as well, just to get those Januses to waste their shots. That's always a potent option here. Now we're going for a whole lot of Hades, and the Hades are nice, but they're not as efficient as some of these other Legion units can be. So the Gatling is very powerful, but quite expensive. The Barrage is absurdly powerful, but very, very slow and slow firing, and you need some sort of armor line in front of it in order to deal any real damage, any damage over time. The Railgun is long range and fires very slowly, so similar to a sharpshooter in the way that you would use a sharpshooter, you need a line of units in front to protect it, and then it fires away from the back line. But it fires very slowly, and obviously not with the same pack, or the same pack a punch as as the sharpshooter would. Not sure why I had a random Call of Duty reference in there, just lingering in the mind. I guess I've been thinking about that a lot recently. The Steam Winter Sale has been really convincing me that maybe I should invest in a whole bunch of games that I know that I would download and play for about 30 minutes and then never play again. So that's been a constant battle of mine. Gotta spend responsibly. Rocketeers out here for retweet, holding the front line right here. Oh, this hurts my soul to see all these metal extractors unclaimed, though. Definitely a rookie mistake to not claim those metal extractors. Shog right here should definitely be claiming these as well. We do have the constructors eventually going to go around. Oh, okay, they're just taking a bit of a scenic route to go claim all those, so those will eventually be all put up and running right here, so that's quite nice. Stella Matt in a little bit of trouble. Yeah, medium tanks firing away. We also have those riot tanks pounding away at them. Blitz is now moving in, going to provide that flanking advantage, and that is going to be the yellow commander going down. Even takes out the tanks that were retreating right there. That's a tremendous advantage for Shog. Right in the middle of the map, it's basically a 2 versus 1 We do have Barometer actually pumping out a tremendous amount of tanks, though. We do have 9 medium tanks available right now, so if those headed up north and tried to cut off the green commander, they could potentially shut this down. The question is whether or not the brown commander is going to realize that that option is available or not. Elfing, our hot pink commander for today, trying to use the commander to hold the line up here. There's a lot of Rocketeers that are blasting away at a whole bunch of the different static defenses and missile trucks and all sorts of other stuff over here. Janisses do fire. Oh, a beautiful connection right there. Wipe out almost all of those aggravators in one fell swoop. Very, very nicely done. A lot of Janisses went down over here too, and we do have a... Oh, okay, we have a constructor reclaiming all that metal, so that's quite nice. Our artillery trucks firing high into the sky and laying down near orbital bombardment on a whole lot of these tanks that are bold enough to stay up on the front lines here. We're setting up a Juno. Junos are technically available on the T1 stage, but they definitely should be treated like a T2 sort of a kind of a unit, or structure rather. They're very expensive to put up. They're very expensive to maintain. They're one of those units that you really can't afford it with an early game economy. You desperately need to transition into T2 or at the very least a very strong T1 economy if you ever want to have any hope of holding on to a Juno and powering it successfully. Massive tank push right there from Barometer, and unfortunately not able to get too much effect. The retreating forces right there of the blue player going to be able to hold the line, and now there's some resbots even going to patch everything up here. Instead of reclaiming, just going to resurrect everything. Already enough metal in the bank right now and no way to spend it all. Ah, I see what we're going for. So the blue player, Reedsweet, has made an air transition from left field here, figuring that this positional advantage on the front line here can be translated directly into an aerial advantage. It's a tricky transition to pull off, but it's one of those ones that some of the pros are very, very good at doing, seemingly out of nowhere. It's something that Dolphy was very good at. I remember back when I used to watch a whole lot of Dolphy games. One of the players that taught me how to play a lot of the different strategies in Bar. The game has changed since back in those days, but certainly some of it still prevails. Okay, Bomber's being mismicroed right here. Uncharacteristic mistake. Yeah, Bomber's struggling to push forward right there. There we go. Losing 2 of them to those metal extractors. Typically what you want to do here is hit Alt and T, or actually for you it might be Alt and Y. But you can set a target point, and then if you fly the bombers over that point, they'll automatically drop their bombs. That way what you can do is you can spread out that target point in a big line like this, and then fly the bombers over, and then they'll fly over and drop their bombs, but they won't stop flying. It's a little bit of a micro niche, but it is very, very useful, and it's one of the things that some of the pros can get away with doing in order to do some really effective carpet bombing. Huge wind turbine field over here. Oh, we kind of missed the mark on that one. Gonna get some metal extractors for it, but yeah, it's still 2 Stormbringers, and they can definitely do some damage back here. I really like the air transition right there, and now we're going into a T2 lab. Okay, I was gonna say, I think we have enough metal here to go into a proper T2 lab, so we're gonna finally get those sweet, sweet Armada T2 bots up and running. We do have a massive standing army right here as well. You know, I say this a lot, and it's sort of a strategy that I've been trying to improve on my own recently, is actually reclaiming my T1 army. When there's times of static like this where there's not really any use for the T1 army, using it to using it as reclaim in order to feed production for T2 units. It seems a bit weird, but oh, look at all these medium tanks have been put back together though. Nicely done right there by Reedsweet, using the enemy's medium tanks against them basically. Elfing forced to retreat right now. Forces from well, a couple different commanders push forward here. Toby as well as ID Neon sending some units in. Yeah, that hot pink commander is in a little bit of trouble right now. Scratch that and make it a lot of trouble. 5% health. Oh, and the commander goes down right there. Juicy little explosion as those medium tanks do continue rolling on through. Whistler's not going to cut it right now. There was a T2 transition right here for the hot pink commander. He's going to need some tanks out on the field immediately. We need to start up Jaguar production. Oh, goes for the bull. There's enough metal for a single bull right now, and I think you'd definitely rather have maybe 2 or 3 Jaguars. Yeah, 330 metal for a Jaguar, so you could basically pump out 3 Jaguars per bull, more or less. And I think they would probably do a whole hell of a lot better just because they can evade the shots coming out from these medium tanks. Now, don't get me wrong, the bull is going to ravage these T1 tanks, but is it going to be enough in time here? I don't think so. Yeah, those medium tanks are sturdy enough to keep on rolling. And I don't think a single bull is going to be able to cut it. What does it do in terms of damage here? Looks like about 12-13% damage per shot. Not bad, and it does have a little bit of AoE as well, so when those tanks are clumped up together, it can shut them down. But the T2 lab does fall. and that's going to be the hot pink player, completely wiped out of the game, at least for a little while here. Do we have any constructors to speak of? We do have a T2 constructor, so at the very least we can get back into the game right now as elfing, but it's going to be quite a hassle. We're going to have to reclaim a whole lot of this mess, piece it all back together, and in the meantime have to rely on our teammates in order to keep everybody covered. It's a tricky situation to be in. Now the line has opened up as well on the southern side. Toby is now pushed through, shut down the Maroon Commander with a massive combined force of T1 units. We have Shell Shockers and tons of them. You know what would be great right now, Shizo? 20 blitzes. You run 20 blitzes into this army right here and you're going to win the battle handily, especially if you can get them to come in from the side, you know, the north and southern side, come across from against the green right there. Yeah, you're gonna be in a really nice position if you manage to pull that off. Always important to think about what your opponent's composition looks like and what you can do to counter that. Hounds up on the northern front, blasting away a whole lot of these medium tanks. Very effective. Got to keep the hounds out of harm's way, though. No reason they should be up close and skirmishing. Should definitely be in the back lines. We have them in Gauss mode. This is one of those occasions where I think we might actually want to switch them into their heavy plasma mode. Not the end of the world, but just one of those minor things. Medium tanks too slow to really take advantage of the Gauss mode. It's just going to do less damage for basically the same cost of unit. Whole bunch more medium tanks counter-aggressing over here. Reed Sweet has gone into that T2 transition and decided to greed a little bit. Went for a fusion reactor. Probably not the wrong idea here, but it does mean that now these medium tanks are going to be uncontested as Reed Sweet has no units on the field aside from, well, a couple of T1 blitzes that were saved and then Sizer over there as well. Yeah, these medium tanks are making it all the way into the back line. They're slowly falling one by one, but they have so much health, they're going to be more than capable of penetrating into the back. We see tons of metal extractors going down right here for our Lavender Commander. We'll go with Lavender. Yeah, I think that's probably the right color. And suddenly, Barometer with an excellent little run by. Very nicely done. Medium tank's going to be more than enough to shut down those metal extractors here. You got to think about the amount of time that these metal extractors, all of them, are shut off, is costing hundreds and hundreds of metal for the blue team right now. It's a significant hampering to the economy for the blue. And it's exactly the kind of thing that the red team is going to need if they want to stay in this game right now, because otherwise the advantage from the lines being pushed pretty far forward here is tremendous. Tiger Tank trying to shut down some of these medium tanks here. Shog trying to cover for the blue player. Fusion Reactor did come up in time here, so at the very least we are going to start pumping out some of those units. T2 metal extractors are also up and online, churning out metal at a egregious rate here. So I've been listening to a lot of Dracula Flow. Hound, that's a joke by the way. Hounds are going to be the name of the game here. I wouldn't wonder if maybe a welder or a couple gunslingers wouldn't be better. Gunslinger 650 metal versus the Hound's 300, so a little bit more than twice as expensive. However, much better against the medium tanks. Certainly very effective against those medium tanks. You can sort of stun them, meaning that you can line up a secondary shot quite a bit more effectively. But the Hound's impressively effective as well, so I think either way, this will be cleaned up quite nicely here. Loads of blitzes pulled as well. Tons of blitzes, actually. Didn't even realize the green player had that many blitzes. It's quite nice. What a death ball up north here. We do have a radar and a radar jammer bot, and a couple of them at that. Also, a couple of construction vehicles pulling all the wreckage over here. This is going to be an impressive army to stop. Rather, it'll be impressive if the blue is able to stop this army, is what I mean. Wow, look at this line over here, too. We have gauntlets set up. We have heavy laser towers blasting away. All sorts of static defense over here. This is a menacing line to be on. I think these gauntlets need to be dismantled, though. That's 2,500 metal that could go into Split Potato's bank account right now. We could turn that easily into the rest of a T2 lab and a full-blown T2 transition. We could get the constructor out and make all those T2 metal extractors we want off of all that metal tied up in T1 static defenses here. Murky Boy standing in, well, against the face of the demons here. Toby trying to move in. Toby the demons. Yeah, I'm glad to see Toby aggressing. I was just about to say, I think it's about time. He received the command from higher up, and now it's time that these units finally push on in here. Radar jammer was built over here, so maybe Toby didn't even realize that there was anything being built over here, but it won't matter as, yeah, the pawn has granted enough vision of what's hanging out over on this side that we're going to be able to start aggressing. There's a Starlight out, so that's quite nice. It'll start blasting away at these units if they AFK over here, and it looks like that is the case. Yeah, Toby. Linger lurking the units around over here. Murky Boy trying to degun down Toby. Not going to be the case here. And that's going to be one dead commander. Well, another dead commander, actually. Went down right next to another one, which is quite funny. Juno never came up. What a bummer. In the end, didn't even matter. Little Sneaky Pete over here. Cloaked jammer tower means you will never find that thing, not unless you ram your face into it. And luckily for Toby, he will. Slams one of his tanks directly into that thing and figures out that there's something there. Again, we're producing bulls when I think Jaguars would be much better here. Oh, cherry D-guns right there from Shizo, though. Beautifully done. Cleaves through a tremendous portion of that army. Loads of rockets connect with that commander, but I think it's probably well worth it, as that is a huge portion of this army going down. There's no production over here, though. Yeah, we're going into bulls right now, and we definitely need to reach for the Jaguar. The lightning tank up here is very, very effective against T1, especially clumped up T1. It's going to have a much better effect against any sort of T1 threat that you're facing on the battlefield here. Speaking of effective against any threat, though, this LOT is carving apart these Rocketeers right now. Beautifully done. Rocketeers in the backline is not something we see all too often. So, cool when we do see it. This southern line is completely won, though. We could just spam out units right now for Toby, and we would win this game. If we just pumped out grunts or pawns or any of those T1 trash units, yeah, that's a done game. Meanwhile, hounds have completely pushed into the backline over here. We do have a couple of Hades trying to be annoying. Doing a decent job of it. Yeah, it's going to be our, well, no, not quite lime green commander. Maybe seafoam green commander. Wiped out of the game up here on northern side. Hounds were more than enough to push in here. Those wind turbines are going to chain react, and it'll be beautiful watching it all go up in smoke. Build power over here. There were mighty plans for a T2 constructor that will never see the light of day here, as it does go down alongside with all the T1 constructors, and it's only a matter of time before the Red Army is able to push on in here. Constructors idling over here. I would love to see them continuing to move forward and reclaim. They've done such a good job already. No reason for them to stop. We do have Mauser firing down onto these. Oh, they're actually Quaker. Much more powerful. And doing an excellent job of it. My goodness. Those are a brutal weapon to come up against. Well, that was definitely the right move right there, though, by Kozak to push forward. I would have liked these units to be spread out a little bit more, but beggars can't be choosers, and either way, those Quakers were dealt with here, and I think it's probably going to be to the massive benefit right now of the pink commanders, well, as well as the red commander on the northern side here. Split potato. Do you have your T2 lab up and running? You sure do, so you're pumping out those T2. You also have a constructor going around building those T2 metal extractors. Nicely done. A little bit late on the curve right there because all of the gauntlets were so expensive, but I think that either way, getting to the same goal, going to be well worth it. Now, meanwhile, on the southern side, a little bit of a yin-yang scenario. We have a whole bunch of firepower happening on the northern side, but we also have a bunch of hounds running down on the southern side, trying to make the very best of this opening that the light blue player, the sort of powder blue player, has opened up for the blue team. Northern side crumbling quite quickly here. There we go. We finally have some Jaguars, but yeah, they're really struggling up these hills right here. Oh, they're not going to move if they're not moving. Wiser words may never have been said. Hounds all over the place, though. Ringing sheer destruction across the board. I think T1 is definitely out and T2 is definitely in. It's about time that we start thinking about that anyways. Hounds have finished off the remainders of the player on the southern side over here. I believe it was the maroon player, Shizo. And now they're going to move into the back line of the hot pink player. They might even find the brown commander who's just been building wind turbines this whole time. You know, for a late game scenario, that's actually not a terrible use of a commander's time. Just set it to idly build a whole bunch of wind turbines. There it goes. Pops in the backline because it probably wasn't expecting to encounter about 20 bulls. Or rather 20 hounds. Well, 12 hounds. This bull also falling under dramatic firepower here. Hounds have essentially shut down the economy right now for the pink player, though. Elfing left with some metal in the bank, but no way to spend it at all. Now we're just spamming out units in the back, and I think that's absolutely the right decision here. Meanwhile, almost a mirror image as we see more hounds running through the northern section as well. Going to be tearing apart a whole lot of this base here. A bunch of metal extractors going down, energy converters as well. Basically everything has fallen at this point. Tanks trying desperately to catch up with all this. Struggling quite hard. Oh, wind turbines too close together. Gotta space them out. Otherwise, a beautiful chain reaction will occur. And I am not responsible for if your beautiful base gets chain reacted and I put it on camera. I'm sorry. It's what the people want to see, and it's my duty to show it to them. Finally, these hounds get cleaned up. A monumental, Herculean even effort on behalf of the blue team in order to clean those up. But eventually, they will be dealt with here. Meanwhile, on the southern side, this was also all dealt with. The hounds did eventually go down over here, and that's going to be a tremendous amount of metal now available for the hot pink players. So if they manage to rebuild, then it could certainly be where they fund it from, is the wreckage of those corpses. Loads of units over here. Somehow or another, we have all this space up here that's full of units and full of structures, and we're not pushing into there. Seems like exactly where we should be spending our resources is pushing this front line back a little ways. Still in a whole lot of trouble. Yeah, this is a dangerous army right on his front door over here. This geothermal should not be allowed to stand, as well as these metal extractors. There we go. Finally, the order is given, and these units are going to charge on forward. Shutting down all of this, and I think it's definitely well worth the expenditure of units over here. Yeah. Shutting down all of this economy for the yellow player. I think it's going to be well worth it. Do we have the... we do have the candidate units enabled as well, which means we have the printers. I showcased in one of the recent streams, Tuesdays and Saturdays, by the way, in case you're interested in tuning in, 12 PDT. You can go ahead and convert that on your own. Every time I try and convert that, it ends up causing a mess. Those printers can be used to hilarious effect if you slap them right behind some really sturdy units. I used Czars as an example, but you could really put them behind any super heavy unit. Mammoths work pretty good too. That's a little bit more difficult because you have to have the T2 bot lab as well as the T2 vehicle lab, which is, you know, it's a bit of a trick to pull off, but if you manage to, I imagine that composition would be quite powerful as well. Or you could just have somebody who's building mammoths and you just build those nanos. Printers, I think they're called? Yeah, printers. So eventually that army was dealt with here. Oh, but there is another one moving through here. A little bit of like a stealth forces. A couple of sneaky medium tanks as well as some rocketeers for fire support, I guess. Going to be, trying to deal with, or deal some damage, rather. Heavy tanks are pulled, though. Tiger's pretty good for dealing with medium tanks. Oh, the medium tanks stopped. All right, well, that push is ended then. And suddenly the swarm has decided to envelop all the forces over here. So many T1 defenses have been set up here by Split Potato, and somehow it keeps on working. Blowing my mind every single time. The rascal swarm now moving out. At the very least, it's going to scout exactly what's going on over here. It'll figure out, okay, we have, you know, this big of a red army. It's kind of understood. We have, a couple of constructors building some LLTs over here. That's quite funny. Trying to hold off the swarm. Scorpion batteries built over here as well. Those will be quite nice for fending off any medium tanks or anything like that that do push on through. Shog following his T2 constructor that's just going around upgrading metal extractors or building T2 metal extractors. I think it's probably a good idea. We have a full-blown advanced fusion reactor built basically all on the front lines right here for Toby. That's quite funny. Don't see that all too often, but it makes a whole lot of sense. Toby's been getting an excellent amount of reclaim right now. Oh, his T2 constructor's going to get caught right here, though. That's unfortunate. Medium tanks are pulled, but the commander at the very least is up and available and running around trying to, do some decent damage over here. What on earth is going on in the back line here? Murky boy. This is intriguing. We have two T2 labs coming up here, as well as a T2 bot lab. So grand total, 8,700 metal. I think that's a residual after effect of Total Annihilation players, I think is the game that people did that in, where essentially the idea was you would build multiple labs that all pumped out units rather than just building build power like you would in this game. But in this game, it's definitely much more effective to go for 6 or 7 construction turrets, or more, on the back of your laboratory rather than going for, 3 or 4 several thousand metal laboratories. The math is not in your favor if you choose that strategy. I suppose it works, but it's, you're not gonna have very much space, and you're not gonna have very much metal left over in your reservoirs, I'm afraid. Pitbull over here contributing as well. It'll mostly be the hounds though, cleaning up the other hounds. Hound on hound warfare. Full-blown T3 Gantry set up over here, and I actually love it. I think that's probably a great idea. We need to eat up this T2 Gantry though. I think, if we want to finish up this advanced fusion reactor, we eat up the T2 lab here. Prioritize finishing up the APHIS, prioritize finishing up the T3 Gantry, and then we just go into a couple of energy converters in the back of all this. We do actually have a whole bunch of energy converters back here. Don't think it'll be enough in order to eat up all the metal, or rather all the energy that the advanced fusion reactor is pumping out, but still quite good. Yeah, we're going to keep producing bolts as well. Very expensive. I think Toby got used to all the metal reclaim that he was getting from pushing forward here, and didn't realize that he actually didn't have that much metal production on his own. That being said, I mean, 100 or so metal production is nothing to scoff at. It's definitely enough metal production for some serious firepower. This is a dangerous amount of tigers pushing forward here, though. Uh-oh. Yeah, those tigers are looking pretty... Woof. Close to the T3 Gantry. Bull does go down. Marauders are started up here to try and deal with all this. Marauder might be able to save the day here. It'll do a significant amount of damage. Oh, it's so close. Lab is being constantly repaired here, but the build power will pop. Marauder does go down. Down goes the forward facility. So this is always the risk of building this on the front lines, right? Very, very low rush distance for your opponent to get in here and, yeah, start doing some damage. Now these aphises are well under fire. Hero LLT trying to blast away these tiger tanks, but it won't matter as the aphis pops, blows everything in a 10-mile radius apart. Oh, that hurts. So much progress wiped off the map right there for Toby. Suddenly another big old run-by has happened over here, but there's so many hounds now available for the blue player. Reed Sweet has got, well, let's see. In total, let's say about 40 or so hounds, 50 or so hounds, something like that. More than enough to clean up the aggressive forces here for the red player. Are we going into... Yeah, okay, so we've got T3 up and running. Do we have advanced fusion reactors up and running? No, not quite yet. 1,000 ticks, still building regular fusion reactors. Looks like we do have an advanced fusion reactor planned over here, but not quite up and running. We also have a whole lot of T1 and advanced T1 solar panels, so I'd love to see those eaten up and turned into advanced fusion reactors. No reason not to. We've got about 5,000 metal and solar panels right now, pumping out 900 metal, so... or 900 energy, rather. You could convert that into... Well, you can convert it into a regular fusion reactor for just a little bit more energy, or an advanced fusion reactor for a little bit more metal. And, yeah, you're going to be soaring. Excellently done by the blue team, though. Sticking in the game, even this long into it. We do have some more gunslingers being pumped out here. Gunslingers are definitely going to start hitting their plateau of effectiveness, where they're no longer really going to be able to accomplish all too much. A little bit of a tick spam right through the middle of the map is quite nice. We do have quite a nice little bundle of hounds and radars and radar jammers all over the place over there. Tick's actually doing a great job of causing friendly fire over here. It's quite funny. Marauder are not meant as a frontline unit, so seeing them out here is a little bit of a misplay. They're going to be quite strong, don't get me wrong. They're definitely capable of dishing out a tremendous amount of pain, but they're going to be much better at doing big run-bys or doing sneaky plays, maybe sending them down south and using them to try and break lines down there. Might not be the worst idea. Basically, you want to look at Marauders as the ultimate pinnacle of the pawn or the grunt or the tick. That's it. That's right. This is basically the T3 tick. There it is. I saw a Reddit post on the official Beyond All Reasons subreddit. Somebody talking about how they felt the T3 units were boring because they stomped through the maps. I thought that was or they stomped through all the other units. I thought that was a pretty interesting take. I don't know if I've ever heard that take before. I've definitely heard the take that T3 battles can be tedious when they start to get into the realms where essentially you have a... just Titans fighting Titans and Juggernauts fighting Juggernauts, and it kind of just devolves into this extremely slow battle. But yeah, it's a spicy meatball to say that T3 units are boring. Part of the enjoyment of the T3 units is you finally get to use a unit that can just decimate anything else on the field here. Case in point, these Marauder cleaving through this T1 and T2 mixed bag of vehicles up here, blasting them away with ruthless efficiency. Yeah, this is what T3 is meant to do. It is the game ender. And these Marauder are starting to snowball. Doesn't take too many Marauder to snowball against T1 and T2. They're trading so efficiently against all these vehicles that it really doesn't matter if you lose one or two of them, because you're going to take down 10 tanks in the way. Yeah, it is a lot of tanks. Nicely done pulling back over here. Need some res bots out on the line in order to eat all this up. We have a single construction vehicle trying its very best. If these Marauder can clean up these tanks nicely, though, it is basically going to be all that's left for the green player. We do have more tanks coming out all the time, but yeah, this is basically the big ball of tanks. And yeah, we hold the line here, and we'll hold the line forever, I do believe. Red team making a comeback on the southern side. We do have a whole bunch of bulls that have been produced, as well as some Mauser that are looking to get aggressive over here. We are still producing Rocketeers. Way too late in the game to continue producing Rocketeers. We definitely need to see a transition into T2. No, we're going to go into T1 vehicle lab here. Yeah, definitely need to work on some of those late game transitions. It's going to bring your OS level way up there. I like that we're throwing up these rattlesnakes all over the place. That's quite funny. I hope everybody saw that video. It was, I think it was in the Beyond All Reason subreddit, as well as the Brightworks subreddit, or not Reddit, Discord channel about the rattlesnake. Bulwark coming up here, as well as a whole bunch of Scorpion turrets. Blue team kind of choosing to pork rather than to push. Almost always the right idea when you're faced with that decision. Pork or push is to push. Resbots reclaiming all this would be quite nice. Certainly help the blue team get some sort of an advantage here. Bunch of blitzes pushing forward. There we go. The Marauder will finally step forward, though. And there'll be more than enough to deal with all the T1 here, and eventually the T2 as well. Yeah, rattlesnakes, pretty great at shelling away from long range. Not going to be ideal for a whole swarm of Marauders, though, sweeping across the battlefield here. And there we go. Marauder, it looks like they are going to be committed to trying to push in here. Kind of a mess. There we go. Yeah, so we can see they're making a break for the backlines here. Losing a couple of them here and there, but eventually I do believe these Marauder are going to be able to find their way into a critical part of the backline of the blue team. There are some sharpshooters that are also trying to blast these apart. Sharpshooters, very effective at dealing with Marauder, just on a damage basis. I mean, they're effective against basically anything. They just do enough damage to be effective, which is, you know, that is one solution to the Beyond All Reason problem. Scorpion turrets were built all over the place over here. That's actually really nicely done. Yeah, the Scorpion turret's going to shut down any Marauder that did manage to run by. And you know what? I really like it. Nicely done. We often see Scorpions in essentially any base defense completely neglected. But Shog doing an excellent job of building some defenses where they matter most. And indeed, saving at the very least his base from complete obliteration here as the Scorpions take down the Marauder. Very nicely done. Couple of rattlesnakes continuing to fire away over here. Quite a funny little unit. Big old push of T1 T1 Rocketeers over here. They are getting obliterated. Mostly they killed those bulls via friendly fire, which is quite funny. This is a huge row of sharpshooters, and if these manage to fire a couple of different times, they're going to be able to pick apart this entire army over here. Down go a whole bunch of those hounds. Every time a sharpshooter rings, a hound gets its wings, so to speak. Yeah, these sharpshooters doing a great job of firing away at whatever they can. If they're not wasting their shots on the rovers, that is, or the rascals. But there we go. Just like that, the entire pink army has been obliterated, and more sharpshooters are still reinforcing on the front lines. We do see welders coming out as well, so that's quite nice to see. Definitely one of my favorite compositions. I posted a video a little while back showing a game that I played where I used this composition to tremendous effect, so I'm certainly a huge proponent of its effectiveness, of its deadliness. You put the welders out in front, you put the sharpshooters behind. The welders give enough vision for the sharpshooters to continue firing. If you put a radar bot in there as well, and maybe even a radar jammer bot in there as well, you can make the composition truly bulletproof, and those sharpshooters will blast away basically anything that dares get too close. And then if you know, something does decide to push in, you just start retreating the sharpshooters backwards, and you push the welders forward. You're going to get the flanking damage from the welders firing in one direction and the sharpshooters firing in the other, which effectively doubles the damage of the sharpshooter, which, I mean, I don't have to be a math wizard to tell you that that's going to be a ridiculous amount of damage that can do. It makes the sharpshooter an extremely effective unit, more effective than it already is. There we go. The welders now on the front lines here. more than sturdy enough to, yeah, take the brunt of any sort of assault here. And then the sharpshooters in the back. Doing a great job of pushing forward. Now, the sharpshooters do have to be spread out. That's one thing that often the sharpshooters struggle with. Well, there's a Razorback coming in from up north. That's a perfect job for the sharpshooters to deal with as well. Medium tank's quite difficult to blast apart here. But I think eventually we're going to. Razorback does go down to the sharpshooters, clicking away with their rifles. How much metal and sharpshooters is this? 14,000 metal and sharpshooters. And for what it's worth, doing an excellent job of pushing forward this T1 trash at this point. Being blasted to smithereens right now. LRPC even firing away. Big hail of bullets as the Marauder pushes forward here and the Hounds try and escape its wrath. We do see some medium tanks pushing in here. Still a T1 battle on the southern side, which is just too funny. Sharpshooters are going to be more than effective enough to deal with a lot of this, though. That's the other thing. Welder's very effective at dealing with big spams of units, too, so you're going to have a really, really nice time dealing with any of those oncoming tick swarms or anything like that. It's one of the reasons why the Welders are very, very nice for an accompaniment for those sharpshooters. Oh, the Marauder do jump on the sharpshooters while they're recharging their guns. Uh-oh. Losing tons of those sharpshooters right there. Unfortunate losses for the blue player. Loses the vast majority of that composition to a couple of Marauders. It's got to be convincing enough for the blue player to start thinking about going for some, yeah, some T3 of their own. Even a medium tank back here. Just eat it up. You just double click on these and select that tank and have a feast. Don't think the blue player's noticed quite yet. LRPC fires away. Ooh, actually fires away quite far. Bull's trying to push in here. That plasma deflector, the keeper, doing overtime here, trying to keep everything up and running. Razorbacks on the front line are going to be difficult to deal with, but man, there's so many Scorpion turrets up here. It's going to be impossible for lone T3 units, even, you know, a couple of T3 units to push through. Looks like the Bulls down here are being dealt with as well. Yeah, Pulsar going to fire away. In-base Pulsar. Going to be more than enough. We do have Demons out on the field here now. Very epic unit. Handed over here to Toby so that he can enjoy that beautiful, beautiful destructive power. Medium tanks getting themselves right up in the face of these Hounds. It's actually a great place for them. I would love us around a little bit more, but yeah, this is pretty much as effective as you can be because the splash damage from those Hounds is going to, well, go directly back into their own face. Medium tank still up and available. This is ravaging the base of the blue player right now. Always funny to see when a single unit can sneak into the backline. It's always wonderful when it's a tick. You don't see a medium tank sneaking in very often, though. T1 Banshees firing away at a whole bunch of Hounds. Switch them into their Gauss mode, and they have half a chance of actually hitting any of those. No way with their in their heavy plasma, though. Whole bunch of heavy bombers. Oh, that is a lot of heavy bombers. 21, 23 in total. 23 heavy bombers in total. They are grouped up right now, so if there's any ounce of flak, they're going to do a huge amount of damage to those bombers. Not the case. Even that light anti-air is still doing a lot of damage, though. Oh, they all pop because of the... a little bit of a miss micro there. Those bombers didn't need to die. You need about 8 bombers, 8 of those heavy bombers in order to take out an APHIS. Wasted a whole lot of them in the death explosion. A bit unfortunate here. Might not even be 8. It might be like 5. Very powerful stuff. Being pulled apart over here. Yeah, no air forces right now for the blue team. So these bombers have the free reign to go all over the map wherever they should so choose. There's some flak finally shooting down any of those bombers before they can make it over here. Shog is on point today with the static defense. Really nicely done. We have loads and loads of demons, by the way, out on the field now. It would be awesome to see these demons push forward here. I think they probably could. Demons more powerful than the Razorback, actually, which is quite funny. They cost 6,000 metal versus the Razorback's 3,800. It kind of throws the ball back into the Cortex court. I feel like for the longest time, the Armada definitely just had the better assault units. The Shiva was nice because it had that rocket, so it could penetrate shields, like, for instance, we have in the middle of the map here. But yeah, it didn't really feel like it could stand up in the face of Razorbacks. Yeah, with Armada just having Razorbacks as well as the Marauder, it felt like there was a little bit of a discongruity there. Congruity. There we go. There's the word. Brightworks does words. Welcome to the Brightworks. They also have anti-air. Not the strongest anti-air in the book, but, you know, it's going to scuff up a couple of these bombers, sure. Here it goes. Dealing tremendous friendly fire damage. Is it actually? Maybe. Hard to say. Either way, it's looking extremely healthy right now. Yeah, I mean, if this line is going to do anything, it'll shut down basically the entire back line of the red team, who has not responded yet. Trigger is pulled down south here, and a whole lot of these medium tanks going to push in. Plasma Keeper, or rather Keeper, the Plasma Deflector, not going to be able to, well, keep up, ironically, with all of the firepower coming in its direction. Too many plasma balls being fired all at once. Rocket Spider is also going to be great for dealing with that, if they're not wasting their shots firing at static defense, that is. Bombers do come in and do a little bit of damage, take down some energy converters over here, but not the end of the world. Massive tick wave being built up right now by Reed Sweet. Wonder what that's all about. And here we go. Demon now going to be blasting away in the back lines. Oh, micro it. Yeah, there we go. Demon will finally step forward here. Oh, no. Your other Q is so much better. There we go. Demon in the back line will be able to do a tremendous amount of damage to the orange player, who has, yeah, discovered the construction turret, so that's quite nice. And you can see that Demon putting out a startling amount of firepower, though. Literal firepower. Bombers are pulled in order to deal with the Demon, but it is quite fast. Bombers can actually have a kind of a hard time dealing with it. There they go. Finally, the Demon falls, but not before shutting down the entire orange base. Meanwhile, the green Demons have pushed forward here. They've ravaged the front lines. There is basically no T3 to stop them, and that's going to be the brown player going down here, as well as the maroon player, who did an excellent job of rebuilding, I might say. But just not rebuilding enough. So those Demons now scorch the earth in flame. Down goes the build power, down goes the wind turbines, down goes basically everything. That's the real power of these Demons, is the fact that they can sort of AoE a whole big field of different things here. Here's the yellow player's base as well. Wow, talk about a map swing. Still a dangerous force of units out for the red and tan player, though. Saw a lot of Razorbacks. A couple of Marauder as well. Demons would be able to clean all that up, but it's going to be, you know, some amount of time before they get there. Razorbacks and, or, sorry, Scorpions and Bulwarks, rather, going to be holding the lines over here. The tick wave is launched. Not sure if, yeah, not sure if Razorbacks is exactly where you want to send your tick wave, as you can see them getting absolutely obliterated right there. I suppose it was more of like a, a threat than really anything else. A hollow threat. There's a Thor out on the field. Thor's exceptional against, well, basically anything that's grouped up together. Razorbacks included. Probably going to be enough to shut all these down, but very slowly. Doesn't fire very frequently. Still a couple more Razorbacks coming in here as well. There we go. A couple of them D-gunned down by McDeevy as well. Yeah, too much firepower. And the blue base is going to fall under the Razor fire now. Thor doing its very best, but just not enough. Oh, but just barely in time. Looks like the red team finally wiped off the map. The Demons did manage to sneak through. Despite the forces across the map here that were going to eventually get into the back line of the blue, I think there was just too much. Excellent play right there by Shog, building those Demons and sending them across the map, destroying enemy resource production, and I feel like the vast majority of that had to have been in the later part of this game. We can actually take a look at that really quickly. Units, damage dealt. There we go. If we take a look at that. Oh, nicely done by the red player. But yeah, you can see as soon as Shog sent those sent those Demons across the field, immediately shot up to second place here and finished right there at the end of this match. Anyways, I sure hope you enjoyed today, or today's cast, and if you do, you can always leave a like down below to show me that, or a comment. I always love hearing from you guys, but other than that, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the very next Beyond a Reason video. Peace out, folks.